What does it do, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Scotty Says. I am your host, and welcome to episode 100. One honey. Ah, yes. Triple figures, my folks. Welcome to the century mark. And, well, this episode, as we see the calendar flip from August to September, it is the annual Rams NFL season preview episode, and boy, do we have a lot to get to. So we're going to get right to it. And, you know, there's been quite a bit going on with the Rams. I mean, now when we last left the Rams, they had been defeated in Detroit at the hands of the kneecap biter and the Lions in the first round of the playoffs. And upon being eliminated, they've made quite a few adjustments over the course of the summer. Some upgrades and some questionable moves as well. Notably, I'll say on the upgrade side of the ledger, I think this is the finest wide receiver room the Rams have had since the departure of Bobby Trees. I like this wide receiver room. On the questionable side, though, I mean, we lost our leading tackler from last season in a very peculiar, kind of McWonderish developing situation that still has not been explained to the people. And so it looked, for all that I can tell, like another one of those issues where McWonder, or maybe it was Shula this time. I thought about it. What would have led Ernest Jones to want out? And he said he didn't want out. Maybe he and Shula got into it, and McGenius sided, of course, with Shula. I don't know. It's left up to speculation because they don't give us the inside story, but we do know Ernest Jones is a baller, one of the best players on that defense, and they let him go for a ham Sammy. Just like Bobby Trees, they let him go for a late round draft pick. And they had to give up a late round draft pick in the trade. So it's very peculiar. And that's definitely a downgrade. And so the Ernest Jones move took a little bit of the steam out of my sails because I was feeling very Ramish in my predictions. And so in this episode, we're going to get to the current 53-man Rams roster. We're going to get to my predictions for the upcoming NFL season all the way through the Super Bowl. New additions. Now, one of the biggest issues that I felt had been hanging over the Rams was the question mark at backup quarterback. And we know now, McGenius, he had a love affair with the Wolford, but the Wolford was a rider, ambulance rider, that is, and so we know the Wolford was not the answer, and so he's gone, and, well, there have been others. Now, I personally liked Perkins, but McWonder would not hear of it. He's gone, and you know, there was Rippin and Bumlin. Oh my, now Rippin's in Chicago now, backing up Caleb Williams' fight on. And so it's just been a litany of, I'd almost go so far as to say substandard backup quarterbacks on the roster until late last season. The Rams added Carson Wentz, and when he played the Wentzer, he looked damn good in the victory over the Niners called by LaFleur. And, well, I said at the time it would be a good move for the Rams to keep Carson Wentz, but no, he's now, the Windsor, is backing up Mahomie in KC. So the Windsor, he says, hey, I'll be a backup, but at least I'll go where I'm almost guaranteed I'm going to get another ring. Well, we'll see about that. But back to the Rams. Here we are now, still searching. And so there was Stetson Bennett. And, well, we know last season McWonder drafted Stetson Bennett, and he did not play. Apparently, he had some mental health issues. This, again, has not been revealed in terms of what exactly was going on with Stetson Bennett, but he needed a mental health year off from the NFL. Now, that's significant to me. To follow your dreams, to realize your goal of being an NFL pro quarterback, and you need a mental health year off. Well, Stetson Bennett, he looked quite suspect in the preseason. Way too many picks. Poltergeist strikes galore by Stetson Bennett. He looks undersized, too. I don't think he's the answer at all. But, when McWonder has a project, when he kind of falls in football love with a guy, you know how he did with Jake Funk. You know how he did with Stoney. Stoney's gone. Stoney is no more. The stone-handed one. I believe he now is down in Houston with CJ and the Texans. Okay, well, that is an upgrade to get those stone paws up out of here. And so, all in all things considered now, I feel as though the addition of Jimmy G, Jimmy the porn star lover G, well, I think that's an upgraded backup quarterback to be sure. However, I would suggest now that Matty be careful, because we know that his wife Kelly will give the backup some of that booty. We know this now. And Jimmy G, he is known to be about that life. So watch it, Matty from the D. Watch your girl. Watch her now. But I digress. I think that with Jimmy G as our backup quarterback, after the second week he's suspended, he's got some issues. Performance-enhancing drug issues, I do believe. So he's out 2 weeks, as is one of our starting offensive linemen, Alaric Jackson, out for the first 2 weeks, suspended. And I think that is a personal conduct issue, not a performance-enhancing drug issue. But the penalty is the same, 2 weeks suspended. And so the point of it all, though, is that we've had some positive upgrades. We've lost some quality players. Net positive, net negative, we'll see. I hope it will be the latter. But the personality conflicts with McWonder and his staff and key players is troubling. We've seen it time and again. We saw it with Todd Gurley. We saw it with the Grill, Cam the Grill Akers. We saw it with Bobby Trees. And that's when I first said, hey, what's going on here with the personality issues? And in this case, Ernest Jones said he did not request a trade and that he was surprised and puzzled by the way the Rams moved so quickly to jettison him and to get essentially nothing in return. So I can only speculate. Maybe there was something with Shula. Have to remember, Raheem Morris, now the coach in Atlanta, really was a popular leader, a coordinator for that defense. And I wouldn't be surprised if another massive loss in terms of the offseason, AD 99, the beast, Aaron Donald retires, and I can't help but wonder if that may have had something to do with the departure of Raheem. And now you've got a new guy coming in, Shula, who wants to prove himself, who wants to put his mark on the defense, who has a whole different way of vibing with the players, of course, than from Raheem. And maybe AD 99 the Beast said, I don't want to deal with starting over with some new coordinator. I'm good. And maybe there was conflict with Ernest Jones. Now, all of this is speculation because the Rams run that organizational ship that, you don't get the real. Sometimes, years if ever, we still don't know what really happened with Ty Gurley, do we? So, enough said there. But speaking of Raheem, I do suspect that he is going to see very quick success down in the ATL. So let's get to the Rams 53-man roster, shall we? Now listen, you've got to like the starting core. I do. Let's go through it. Starting at quarterback for your LA Rams, the aforementioned Matty from the D, Matthew Stafford, and his backup in games 1 and 2 will be Stetson Bennett until Jimmy the Porn Star Lover G comes back from his suspension, at which time he will then be the backup for Matty from the D. Watch him, Matty. He'll then be the backup the rest of the way. Running back. Kyren Williams has established himself in my mind as a solid number one, a top shelf NFL running back, and yet the Rams drafted Blake Corum, high draft pick for the Rams, another running back, and I imagine that had to give K. Will a little bit of a kick in the backside. He must have felt some sort of a way. I mean, to have put up the year that he put up last year for the Rams, and then for them to spend a draft pick on a big-time college running back. But K. Will has shown a propensity for injury, and to be perfectly honest with you, to be a running back in the NFL, how long can you do it without taking a hit and being shelved for some period of time? So it makes sense to have a quality backup, maybe interchangeable, a 1A, 1B kind of a situation at running back. I'm happy to see Blake Corum, and I can't wait to see what he adds to the offense. And then Ronnie Rivers is still there as your backup to your backup. Wide receiver. Now, I mentioned the wide receiver room earlier, and I say here and now, I think this is the best wide receiver room the Rams have had since at least during the Bobby Trees era. And so let's get right to it. Wide receiver one, it is Soup, none other than Super Cooper Kupp. And his backup at wide receiver one will be Tutu Atwell, who will also serve as your punt returner and kick returner for the Rams this season. Now, I like this move. I hope that there won't be any unforeseen issues, but I expect Tutu to be able to break off one or two or more over the course of the season. And this is a massive upgrade from Fair McMuffins. Remember Fair McMuffins? He's gone. No more McMuffins, muffin punts and turning my blood pressure up to the red. He's gone, thankfully. And so, Tutu will handle kick return, punt return duties. Wide receiver 2, you already know who it is. It is Puka Nacua, the legendary rookie. One season in the NFL, shattering records. And, well, he got nicked up a little bit during camp, I understand. And they're, kind of nursing him back. But word is he will be ready for week 1 against who? The same team that they ended their season with, the Detroit Lions, on Sunday Night Football. I can't wait. Backing up Puka Nacua, wide receiver 2, is the rookie, Jordan Whittington. Now, this kid looked really good in the preseason. I mean, he was like the rookie of the preseason, from what I saw anyway. So I'm excited to see what he does during the course of his first NFL season. And then wide receiver 3, TDR, the Demarcus Robinson. I like this wide receiver room. And so TDR is wide receiver 3, and his backup is Tyler Johnson. And I told you last year I like Tyler Johnson. So look at that wide receiver room. Special, I think. I like the 3 backups, but the 3 frontline wideouts, mwah, magnificent. Now, these are upgrades, but then on the other side of the ledger now, as I say, there are the downgrades. And so, in the tight end room, I'm concerned this may be the weakest tight end room we've seen in a decade or more. And so, we know that Tyler Higbee is out because of that awful hit he took in the Detroit playoff loss. And so we know he won't be back anytime too soon. So, well, the Rams made a move for Seattle tight end Colby Parkinson. Now, I don't know a lot about the guy. People rave about the guy. We'll see. And then, well, McWonder did what I suspected he would do. He jettisoned. Now, I kept telling you I liked Brycen Hopkins. I thought Hopkins was the perfect guy to pour into to see if that can be your front end tight end. Front line tight end. McGenius would have no part of it. He's gone. And so, good luck, best wishes to Brycen wherever he ends up. But Cousin Allen, that's one of those projects that I've been telling you about. McWender has his projects. Well, Davis Cousin Allen is listed as tight end 2, your backup tight end, and Hunter Long is tight end 3. Now let's quickly go to the offensive line. There have been some changes. I mentioned Alaric Jackson now, so he's out for a couple of weeks due to suspension. And so Joe Note Go Boom will start at left tackle until Alaric Jackson returns, and then Note Go Boom will go back to the bench. Backing him up at this point in time is Warren McClendon Jr., who really is the backup for Rob Havenstein. And Rob Havenstein has a couple of injury issues over at right tackle, the staple, the only now with the retirement of AD99 the Beast. Havenstein is the only remaining St. Louis Ram on the roster. And so Warren McClendon Jr. is technically his backup, but he'll back up Note Go Boom those first couple of weeks until Alaric Jackson is back into the fold. Warren McClendon Jr., though, may actually have to play for Havenstein if he's not ready opening game. We'll see how that progresses. Hopefully, Rob will be ready. And then the rest of the offensive line, well, at left guard, they brought in Jonah Jackson, and Logan Bruce backs him up at center. The rookie last year came into his own And now he's been moved to center. Steve Avila. Remember, he was at guard last year. Steve Avila now moves to center. And right guard, Kevin Dotson, who came in, took the position. It's his position. And we already talked about right tackle. So that is your offense. That is the offense. Let's look at the other side of the ball on defense. Well, the Rams drafted Braden Fisk. They drafted Jared Verse, and these are projected to be starters for the Rams on defense. Braden Fisk will be a defensive end, and Jared Verse will be an outside linebacker. And then you've got along the defensive line, you've got Kobe Turner coming back, the conductor who was making beautiful music with all those sacks as a rookie, and Bobby Brown III. It is his prerogative. Don't be cruel. And then the other linebackers. Now, see, this is where I let me have a sip here. 100. This is where I have concerns, my folks, because now starting at linebacker, inside linebacker is Troy Reeder. Oh boy. Ernest Jones, that was his spot. He was manning that position. He was one of the best in the business, and now he's gone for some personality stuff, I'm pretty sure. He didn't want to go. Maybe it was some contractual issues. It feels like somebody got offended. Somebody's feelings toe got stepped on. And I imagine it has to either be this Sneedster, McWonder, or Shula. And I don't know any more details other than the speculation, but this troubles me now. But there's Spates. Omar Spates is backing up Reeder. And this guy, this rookie, Spates was hitting folks in the preseason. Payaka! So, I mean, he may elevate and end up taking that spot sooner rather than later. Outside linebacker, well, Byron Young, man, number 0, putting people to sleep out there, hitting left and right and playing big. And then in the secondary, your cornerback is Darius Williams, and Kobe Durant will back him up. Your safeties, John Johnson III, I feel comfortable back there with him. They've got another addition back there in the secondary, Cameron Curl. I don't know a lot about him, and so we'll have to see. But your nickel back, Quentin Lake, and your your other cornerback, Tre'Davious White. All right, and so the Rams also, I think, have solved their kicking issue. They found this youngster, Cardi, and Cardi seems pretty solid. He looks good. He looks stable. He doesn't seem like he gets wigged out like some of these other characters have done. You know, like the Havre-Sick experience and that kind of thing. So I think we found a good place kicker with Cardi. And so overall now, I'm going to say overall, on balance, it was a push. It was a push this offseason, my folks, because you lost AD99 the Beast. You lost Ernest Jones, you know, and I mean, I like the upgrades on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know that they outweigh the losses on the defensive side of the ball. I definitely feel like special teams has been upgraded. And so on balance, I'm going to say it's a push, but I still have a good feeling about the Rams and what they can do this season. And so let's just go ahead and get right into it then. Predictions. Let's go ahead and make these predictions for the upcoming NFL season. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I've spoken out against gambling, and they're pressing it and pushing it and forcing it down folks' throat. Every commercial, every other commercial, it's this betting platform, this gambling app, and hurry and gamble, and we'll give you 5 times what you bet it. Just try it with us. We'll give you this. Just try it. And that's how they get you sucked in, you know. Dope dealing 101. Try it. Get you rigged in. But I had such a good year predicting last year. In fact, 13 postseason games, I went 10-3, including the Super Bowl correct. 10 correct out of 13. That'll get it done. That'll win you some money. So I start thinking, I don't know if I've got unlike the experts, if I really have a pretty good handle on this, maybe I should put a little bit of money where my mouth is. We'll see. I don't know, we'll see, but let's get to my predictions. And listen, if you're one of those gambling types and you take any of these predictions and make some money, man, cash at me. At least leave me a comment and let me know I was of help. Huh? Okay, let's get to it. In the AFC East, I am going to go with the Dolphins, even though they are suspect in a number of ways. I'm going to go with the Dolphins to win the division. And I'm going to go with Buffalo, even though they are suspect, to come in second. Which means that the much ballyhooed New York Jets with COVID toe will come in third. And, there's no doubt about it that New England's coming in last. That's a given. Okay, we don't even really have to discuss that. Now, the Jets are interesting because there's so much hoopla surrounding COVID toe and all that distraction that he brings with him. And he's in Egypt, and he's got conspiracy theories, and is he vaccinated, and what does he think about this and politics? And it's just an ongoing mess with this guy, Hiawatha. All this. What is it? Ayahuasca. That's it. All this different stuff with this guy. Well, here's what I think. A lot of people are picking the Jets to win the division and make noise. I don't think the Jets will make the playoffs. Coming in third, they won't. And I don't even know if... I suspect this guy won't make it through the end of the season. He's done. You pinning your hopes on COVID toe to lead you deep into playoffs, it's a pipe dream. Won't happen. Let's move on. AFC North. I'm going with Baltimore to win the division. And Le Marvelous. And I'm going with Cincinnati to come in second. Now, I was torn because Joe Burrow is another one of these guys who very easily will not finish the season. And Cincinnati's got issues. Okay? And you can see even with their wide receivers and the holdouts and it's the ownership, they are frugal is not the word. Okay? And so they've got issues. But people overlook all that because they love Burrow. Old Jughead Joe. Well, Jughead Joe is an injury risk on any given Sunday. And so I'm tempted now. I'm tempted to swap out Pittsburgh for Cincinnati because, as we know, Mike Tomlin does not finish under 500. And even though Fields and Russ are not optimal quarterbacks, they're still an upgrade over what he had last year with Pickens and Rudolph, the redneck reindeer. So, the jury's still out, but I think it could end up being really close with Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if Mike Tomlin and the Steelers find their way above Cincinnati in the standings. Now, Cleveland will finish last. And man, that whole contract fiasco, what they gave Deshaun Watson, it may very well be the worst contract in NFL history, but they'll come in last. Let's move to the AFC South. Well, I think it's safe to go with Houston and the Texans. 100. Houston Texans win that division and I think go deep in the playoffs. And here is where some people may find this a shock. I am picking the Indianapolis Colts to come in second in that division. I think Jacksonville will be exposed and their quarterback exposed as fraudulent. I do not expect that their quarterback nor the team in Jacksonville will have an above 500 season. Down in Tennessee, well, Ernest Jones will be down there hitting and he'll have plenty of opportunities to make tackles because they're going to come in last in the AFC South, which brings us to the AFC West. And I mean, hey, no surprise here. It's KC all day. I'm going to go with the Chargers to come in second. Denver and the Raiders are going to fight for the bottom, for the cellar. Now, let me give you my wild card teams. We got Miami, Baltimore, Houston, and KC winning their division. That's the four who are in. The three wild card teams will be, I believe, Indy. That's number 5. I'm saying Cincinnati will be 6, but that could be Pittsburgh. And number 7, Buffalo. And I agonized about that because Buffalo, that spot could very well go to the Chargers. But I'm going to go with Buffalo for the 7th and final wild card spot in the AFC. And I think you already know that I suspect KC will come out of that scrum and will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Against who? Who? Against who, you may ask? Well, in the NFC. In the NFC East, I'm going back with the Eagles fly. Eagles fly. I think they will reclaim the top spot in the division. I'm giving Dallas second place in the division. That's an interesting scenario down in Dallas. You know I don't believe in them, not one little bit. And you see, they had, let's just call it, a mercurial offseason. Okay? And so, I think Dallas may have actually gotten worse than they were last year. And so, for all the noise down in Big D, Dallas, I believe will finish second in the division, and on top of that, will miss the playoffs. Playoffs. Not for them damn Cowboys. In the NFC North, well, I can't unseat Detroit from the top of the division. I'm going to leave them there. I believe Green Bay will come in second, and I believe they will claim a wild card spot. Here is another semi-shocker now. I believe that the Chicago Bears will show up, will show out, and at the end of the season will have enough victories to qualify as a wild card team out of the NFC North. So I think 2 wild cards are coming out of the NFC North. Now, I could see how maybe Dallas could take that spot from Chicago or maybe even Tampa Bay. But as it stands right now, I'm going to go with my own Caleb Williams and the Bears. And I like what they're doing in Chicago. It's not just Caleb Williams, but they are loading up around him. They want to make a run, and I don't blame them. And so I think they'll get that last wild card spot. Minnesota will come in last in the NFC North. And then in the NFC South, well, I think, as I mentioned before, Raheem and the Dirty Birds. A lot of birds flying this season. I believe Atlanta and the Falcons will claim the NFC South title with Tampa Bay a close second. And in the mix for a wild card, I think New Orleans will find themselves a distant third and may even battle with Carolina for the cellar. Of course, the division which is closest to my heart, the NFC West. And this might surprise a couple of people, but probably not. I predict that the LA Rams will, in spite of, let's say, a lukewarm offseason, I predict the LA Rams will win the NFC West ahead of them damn Niners, who will fall off somewhat. But I still think the Niners will claim a wild card spot. Seattle will come in third, and Arizona will be at the bottom of the division. And so the 7 playoff teams from the NFC, I believe at this point in time, will be Philadelphia, Detroit, Green Bay, Chicago, Atlanta, the Rams, and them damn Niners. And coming out of all of that, I believe, as I predicted last season, if you watched the NFL wrap-up episode from last season, I believe that the Super Bowl in February 2025 will feature the Kansas City Chiefs and the LA Rams. And that is, well, it's sort of a rematch from that moved Mexico City game to the Coliseum. Remember that one? The shootout? Was it 51-49? Rematch. Super Bowl. KC versus LA. And I might as well tell you now, I have learned my lesson. I will not bet against my homie. And so there it is. I suspect KC will get their third in a row and go down in NFL history. All right, well, there it is, my folks. I hope that you have enjoyed the presentation. And what I'm going to ask from you, what I need right now for you to do is to throw me one of these. Please like the video. No cost involved. Like the video. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you think I'm on the money or if you disagree with my picks. And until the next one, which you know, now that the NFL is back, it won't be too long from this one. Scotty says, one love. Keeping it 100.